Good morning and welcome to Tuesday, March 10th, 2020. And today's devotion is titled, Apollos Comes to Ephesus. And we'll be reading out of the book of Acts, chapter 18, verse 26. And it reads, And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, whom when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him unto them, and expounded unto him the way of God more perfectly. We see in our devotional passage that Apollos was fervent in the Spirit, and that he came knowing only the baptism of John, and that's in verse 25. What we see here is not unusual. We still see things like this today. Apollos was enthusiastic, well-spoken, and seemingly dedicated to telling the world of his salvation through Jesus Christ. It appears he knew the existing scripture, as he was described as being mighty in the scriptures in verse 24. And this is why it's important to really read the entire chapter to get the full context of the devotion. It also seems that he was not as educated or taught in the new gospel that was being preached by Paul and his friends Aquila and Priscilla. What really matters here is the reaction of the more seasoned believers to the enthusiasm of Apollos. Even today, church members tend to quickly rein in the enthusiastic new converts and point out that they really do not know much, or that, well, we just do not do that in our own way, or any number of things that can quickly make a fired up new believer as lethargic as the rest of us. Aquila and Priscilla, however, did things right. One of the basics of the Great Commission is making disciples and teaching the proper things to converts. Rather than cooling Apollos down, they took him under their tutelage, taught him correct doctrine, and turned him loose again. We see later that Apollos continued to teach and preach powerfully and convinced many of the truth of Jesus Christ. This should be our model when we see a new believer with great potential. And our final thought is, being mentors and discipling new believers is the absolute responsibility of every church member. You know, we see this in churches all across the country today. You've got your core group that come in and they were excited when they got saved. They got energetic. They would come to every service, which they may still come to every service. But then they just sort of become stagnant and they fall into that rut. They go in every service. They sit in the same seat. They remain quiet. And then they sing the praise and worship songs, they listen to the sermon, and then they leave. They've become perpetual disciples. They become perpetual students. But they kind of stopped progressing. And then when new people come in behind them, they kind of squash their enthusiasm. What our churches should be doing is taking in the new people, taking that excitement and harnessing it, and using it to build up their knowledge and wisdom so that they can then become the next teachers. Get involved in the church more, do more ministry, do more reaching out to the community. Then when the new converts come in, those previously new converts can harness them and get them trained up to become the next generation of teachers. And then that generation will do the same for the following generation and keep the cycle running. But so many times people come in, they get excited, but then there's nothing to do. Churches need to offer ministries. Churches need to offer opportunities to harness that excitement so that those people can utilize it to build up their own knowledge, their own wisdom, and to grow closer to the Lord so that they can share that with the next group that's coming in right behind them. So if you're in that state, if you're in a church and you find yourself stagnant, talk to your pastor, talk to the pastor's wife, or talk to the deacons. Find out how you can get more involved. Get out of your rut. If you're just spinning your wheels, you're not progressing. What kind of example are you to those excited new people that are coming in the doors? Show them that there is potential for growth within the church. There's always, trust me, if you go to your pastor and say, Pastor, what can I do to help in the church? Or ask a deacon the same thing, I promise you, they will find something for you to do, because there's always work to be done. And many times the pastor and the deacons get burdened carrying the entire load for the church. What a relief it would be for them if a church member stepped up and said, give me something to do. And trust me, you'll feel better, you'll feel more satisfaction, you'll enjoy going to church more. It'll rejuvenate your excitement all over again. And then that becomes contagious for others. So I hope that's been an encouraging devotion to you. It has been for me. Now I'm all fired up and I want to go do something for the church. So I hope you've, again, enjoyed it and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.